everybody. Welcome to a slightly delayed Sonic Talk, episode 476. We're still having a little bit of technical difficulties with one of our guests, but it will be with us shortly. This is a podcast that talks about music technology, about music production, electronic music, synthesizers, drum machines, software, all kinds of stuff, live production, all kinds of stuff associated with the business, the technology of making music. Please do subscribe to the Sonicstate YouTube channel because we're always looking to reach that magic 100,000 subscribers, and I've got a place for the YouTube subscribe button just there. I want to say thank you to our sponsors. Isotope are sponsoring the show with a competition, and you will be able to win a copy of Isotope's Neutron, which is a fantastic mixing, analysis and processing plugin. More on that later, probably about halfway through the show. But I want to say thank you very much to them for joining us. I want to say hello to the chat room. That's not the chat room. Excuse me. That's the chat room. That was the ad. The chat room, sonicstate.com/lives, where we have an IRC channel. We've also got, we're streaming live to Facebook, and we stream live to YouTube. So hello to all of those people with us. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Right, let's introduce some guests. We'll start with Mr. David Spears of G4 Software, makers of fine playing cards. Top Trump, vintage synth Top Trump True. When you said you were a bit busy, I thought perhaps what you were doing, maybe you were off to the doctors to see about your RSI injury from licking so many stamps, from sending your Top Trumps, vintage synth Top Trump 2. Gosh, I can't say that very well. How are you, Dave? Anyway, you well?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. Yes,
excellent.
No RSI here. Chris drew that short straw. So every morning he's going, I'll see you after I've done the post office. That's a kind of weird experience.
So did you make enough? Or is that a leading question?
Oh, yeah, no, we made, yeah.
Not enough to last you for the next millennium?
Probably, yeah, yeah. No, but it's really good. VST2, of course.
Oh, yes, of course.
So
and here comes Robbie.
Oh, sorry. Hello.
There's Robbie Bronneman, look, who's just bumped off Ty Unwin. Oh, that's all right. We weren't sure whether you were coming. Well, we'll say hello to you, Robbie Bronneman. Robbie Bronneman, who is live and direct from what looks like a backstage dressing room with the light behind it. He's just back off tour, been on the road with Howard Jones, and 5 weeks, right, in the States.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, it was 3.5 in the States, and then 3 days off before that, and then 2.5 weeks in Australia.
Blimey. So do you know where you are? Have you managed to catch up on your sleep patterns?
I went to bed I literally passed out at 5 o'clock last night after desperately trying to stay up, and then woke up this morning at 12 o'clock. Well, I'd say this morning at lunchtime today at 12 o'clock. So.
Oh, well, that's good. So you'll probably be on the night shift for a little while, but that's the way it goes. Well, I'm very keen to quiz you about your japes and what have you on the road, and because we've also got Mr. Charles Chicky Reeves, sublime-uk.com, producer, mix engineer. You've been doing front of house on this tour, right, Charles?
Yeah, I was on the same tour with Robbie. Hi, Robbie. And,
haven't you had enough of each other yet?
We've just been sharing a couple of bunks together. It's been
a couple of bunks. I hasten to add
separate bunks. Yeah. But it's been a nice long jaunt around, mostly in the southern half of the United States, which was interesting. Good weather changes. So, but I too am exhausted. I get home from the airport. I slept for about 5 hours. I woke up for 4 hours and then went back to sleep by 10 o'clock last night, and then woke up at 9 this morning.
Wow! So we were talking pre-show that kind of thing when you get back from being on tour and or being away from a prolonged period of time when everything is scheduled and taken care of, and then you come back to family life or to whatever the normality of it, and it's a really weird acclimatization scenario. And I imagine that you've probably been going through that a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
wait,
absolutely.
Why don't we just get a takeout? I'm not cooking tonight. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Where's catering?
Yeah, exactly. Where's catering? What's the Wi-Fi code? And are there showers here?
Yeah.
All
of those things. Oh, yes. It sounds like great fun. So Robbie, just tell me. This was Howard Jones, right? This thing. It was.
Yeah.
And kind of stadiums, arenas. What sort of size venues were you doing?
Just kind of small gigs. Sort of mostly the kind of really cool sort of academy size gigs. I guess you could liken it to in the UK. So most of them standing up, kind of up to a sort of 1,000 kind of capacity type places. So yeah, and we did one festival in the middle with Earth, Wind and Fire and the B-52s in where was that? It was in Florida, Key West,
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, that was fun on a beach. So that was kind of fun. So we went from snow to sort of tropical conditions. Almost, yeah.
Wow, how do you pack for that? I wonder. So B-52s, how was the B-52s? Were you handling front of house for them, or did they have their own guy?
Actually, Robbie, you saw them because I went.
Yeah, I saw them. Yeah, slept. Yeah, they're great. They were great. Earth, Wind and Fire. They were great. I mean, they were just like I don't know how they would make any money because there's about 1 billion people on stage. So but they were really cool. And they got this great bass player. He must be one of the original members. He's just like, I don't know, he looks like sort of the guy from Doctor and the Medics, only black. It's just like a bit crazy looking.
Wow, so a lot of fun. Well, perhaps some of our topics will spring to mind some exciting japes, and I want to hear at least one anecdote from the tour from each of you by the time the hour's up. Anyway, let's get on and let's do. This thing. This is the new FaderPort from PreSonus, which is an 8-channel affair because the original was like a 1-channel, which was actually pretty nifty. It's kind of essentially a Mackie control type of thing, but it's got DAW support, cat support by the looks of things as well, moving faders. There we go. So this is yet another DAW controller, but this, I mean, I don't know if some people, I don't know if anybody had the original FaderPort. I was trying to find a picture of one actually, but I did have one. But it's you've got one.
Yeah, I've got 2 of them actually. I've been using them for quite a long time. I got one for my portable rig originally, because I was doing it on the iPad with the Logic Control software. And it's great I've got all custom key commands set up in that and everything, but I just couldn't get on with it as a fader because every time I was looking at the screen to do something, my finger would wander off to somewhere else. And I realised I was doing another fader. So I wanted just like a fader so I can just do some, particularly I use it for like on channels for doing actually dynamics on strings and stuff in a sort of scoring stuff more than anything. No, I love the original, although I have to say they haven't updated this. They haven't updated the software for eons, and it's got flakier and flakier working with things like Logic.
Well, it's 10 years, isn't it? Something like that?
Yeah, well, I was excited by this because I was hoping that it must mean that there's a new software that hopefully, because looking on their website, the FaderPort's still a current product, the new software that goes with this is like one of those dual installers that may have finally updated the software for the original. I don't know if anyone can shed any light on that, because that would be very exciting for me.
Oh yeah, there it is. That's the original. I mean, I think the thing about the original FaderPort was obviously its size and its compact nature, which is, you can just put a single automated fader on the desktop, which is actually pretty cool. Although it did need an external power supply for the motor to work, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I don't know if I looked before the show to see if I could find any info, but the information was scarce. So I don't know if anybody in the chat room might know anything more about that.
No, okay, we'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Mr. Charles Chicky Reeves, are you a? Sorry, I keep muting you because you hiss and terribly. So sorry, that's all right. When you speak, if you talk more, then you have to beat the auto gain. Is this something that you use? I mean, controllers stuff. I mean, this looks like a pretty compact system. It gives you that sort of session side of things, but it also integrates really obviously well with the Studio One, which is something that's a big sell on this. And you get those nice little AMOLED scribble strips with fader levels by the looks of it. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like faders. I have a console, right behind me, which I love, it sounds interesting to me. It's like I like the fact that it's 8, because typically when I work in groups or VCAs, I'll have 8 groups or VCAs going, and so if assigning it to that, it'd be great. I don't know about individual channels necessarily. I mean, I do sort of some general rides on individual channels, but I'll do like in mixing, I will do a lot of rides. A lot of rides on VCAs and stuff, just to create, different moods and sections and different intensities.
How do you group your VCAs? What do you tend to put on them?
Like I'll have like a drum bus, a separate bass bus. Sometimes it depends on how many tracks there are, but like a lot of the stuff that I'll put together after that would be like anything that is harmonic that would be fighting with vocals. And then, that way I can have like a compressor on those channels that is triggered by the vocals, so it sort of knocks them out of the way. I do this live too. And then lead vocals and backing vocals. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it took me. I didn't realize what the difference between VCAs and subgroups was for a little while. But actually, there is quite a definite difference. And obviously, VCAs handle the send of the fader. So if you've got post fade sends and you pull it down, you're not left with ghosting effects. It kind of takes it away, and the effects level is relative unless you bus the effects return. Well, it doesn't work quite that way. Yeah. So that's the difference. The VCA controls the level of the faders, whereas a subgroup is a mix of the faders, which doesn't include the any of the pre or post fade send levels. So that's the advantage, and it's also one fader. You don't have to have a stereo fader. Is that about right?
That's about right. Yeah, the VCA audio doesn't pass through a VCA typically. Right. VCA is actually just controlling things that could lead into a group or lead into a mix. I mean, essentially, your mix bus in Pro Tools or whatever, your mix bus is like another type of group. It's just a dedicated, main, left, and right. But and then your buses are separate mix groups within those that then lead to the master left and right.
Right.
But VCAs actually control what goes into those, and I guess VCAs are mostly handy for things like say for instance, if you put a compressor on the bus and like say something that drives a bit, like a decapitator or any of the other popular things that distort, you could actually have something that is not quite distorting going into it using the VCAs, and a whole series of say vocals or whatever, and then have those sort of push into that bus that then has the decapitator on it, and becomes more and more distorted, and thereby you're creating more intensity in your mix.
That's interesting.
Same thing with like regular compressors. You can like have it so it's just barely compressing, and then suddenly it's like almost brick wall limiting. So.
No, that's interesting. I've not thought about using like that. Dave, I'm pretty sure you've been sort of the mixer / control route. We flip flop generally as sort of studio owners. There's something about having one of these that makes you feel like I need one of those, because that means that I'm mixing more seriously. It means that I've got a proper tool for the job, and it's going to make my workflow better, right?
Yeah, well, that disqualifies me immediately. No, I don't really. I was thinking of this earlier when I was looking at it. I was thinking, oh yeah, it looks great. I've got the little monitor station thing.
Yeah.
I'm not wild about, it's got the blue knob and stuff, and that started crackling not long after I got it. So I was kind of like, but that's really useful. This, I don't think I'd really use it, partly because I don't mix tracks. When I'm in DAW mode, it's usually real detailed audio.
Like forensic stuff, right?
Yeah. And for that, I've got, key commands and various bits of software that do various things. So, yeah, it's funny. Whilst I feel I should have something like this, I don't really have any need for it.
Well, I think it's a testament to the fact that the original is still in production, has been for eight or 9 years, and I've got one somewhere, but I can't remember. I think I lent it to somebody, and I can't remember who it was, and I've always wanted to get it back because
wasn't me, by the way.
It wasn't you. Okay, that's fine. That's good to know. That does look pretty good. I mean, the one thing, it's just a USB, and I did actually. It's about 480 quid. I did actually see. I know there's also this guy, which is the Behringer X Control, which has the same sort of deal
as well.
But it's also got Ethernet, which means it does RTP MIDI, and it means you can control as well. You've got that as well, Robbie. I mean, that's a very similar thing. It's a bit bigger, I think, as well, and it's a Behringer that some people, have a problem with. But
I got that one to go with the XR20, the one you like. I've got one of those
XR18.
XR18. Yeah, I got one of those to go with that primarily. I am planning to use it in the studio. I was just a little bit disappointed because I didn't realise the scribble strips, all the colour coding and everything only works proprietary with things like the XR18. It doesn't work with other DAWs.
Ah, okay.
So it just comes up as just standard, just displays.
Yeah, I don't think there's a Mackie protocol for colorization of scribble strips, is there?
So it's a shame. It's a shame, perhaps, that it wasn't like the same as the Avid ones, you know, that I've forgotten what Yukon, something like that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more detailed. But anyway, no, I'm going to get that in the studio at some stage and try.
How does that work with the XR18? Is it integrating? No, because there's a mode, isn't there, for that you can actually get it to talk directly. It's a sort of boot mode.
Exactly. So you can. It just works it works almost like you've got a hardware mixer, you know, with a remote unit. So you know, I've only used it a couple of times so far. We used it to track a bit of drums with Simon. But yeah, no, I think those units are great, as do you, as does Gaz, does a lot of other people. So
yeah. Oh, excellent. So we've got the XR18 fan club. Apart from the fact that the only reason you can tell it's on is there's an orange light on it. Apart from that, there's absolutely nothing else to tell you what's going on under the hood.
And it also slightly kills my internet here at the studio for some reason.
Really?
Yeah. If I turn it off, I get. You know, the last couple times
set the SSID channel manually for your router, and then it'll, because usually I've been through this. What you do is you set your SSID channel. I think it's to either 1 or 5, which gives you the widest range, but the one that's less likely to have interference from other ones. So there's a whole load you can read up on it. If you change your main Wi-Fi for that to a specific channel, then it won't interfere. It will keep away from the other ones. That's worth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good idea, because I love the XR18. I mean, I use it as a keyboard submixer, and it's excellent for that. I track through it sometimes. But yeah, if I have to talk to you, for example, on this program, I have to turn it off. Otherwise, I end up with all kinds of interference problems.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, this has turned into something more than just the PreSonus FaderPort 8. It does look really tasty, and as I say, it's got a very small footprint, which I think, you know, if you have it in the centre, because as we know, you know, as we miniaturize everything, you know, screen real estate becomes, desktop real estate becomes an issue as well, particularly with all these little boxes all over the place. But it does look really good, and people are raving about it. And PreSonus have said, you know, that it's been their #1 request for such a long time for a new product, so it's finally here. So I thoroughly recommend you check it out. But Dave, you're not going to be going for the MIDI controller anytime soon, then?
It's funny. I've been offered a kind of semi-permanent loan of an old Midas heritage desk, which I'm going to use. Well, which I want, but again, it's footprint because it's a bit massive. But I love. I used to do it with the Mackie, you know, it was just literally like put all the synths into it, and then when you get on a kind of live jam, you've got all your fades and your groups and stuff like that. Whereas the idea of doing it with the old Midas sounds pretty cool, but I'm afraid synths take priority, so we have to see what space is left in our new place before we go, yes, we'll have that desk, thank you.
Can't you do what they used to do to old Neves, which is sort of cut out the EQs and the mic amps and just have them in little 500 racks, or is that sacrilege?
Well, this would be a loan, so...
Problematic.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, I've just hacked your desk up.
See how you can possibly get a heritage in there. That's absolutely huge. That's a large.
No, we're moving to a new place early in the new year.
Ah, coolio.
So it's going to be the first time where we'll have absolutely everything in one room, which we've never really had with all of the synths. So it's like, actually, they should take priority. The last thing we want to do is stick a massive mixing desk in there. And it's flight cased as well, so it's even bigger than normal.
So you're not going to have anything at home at all?
Sorry?
I might keep a small system here, but no, the idea is to have a proper working place.
To go to work.
Yeah. That'll be a kind of novelty.
Yeah.
That's why I bought that bike. My insane stealth bomber. I bought an electric. Oh, I don't know whether I've told you. I bought an electric bike. This is completely off topic. It's insane. It's insane. You have to pedal it, so it's not like, you know, a posh mobility scooter. The tyres are super fat. They're like made for sand dunes and stuff in the States. And you can, I shouldn't say this, but you can get them chipped. So, like, it's
they go faster.
Yeah, they really do go faster. Like, kind of dangerously fast in the woods.
So it's like I remember back in the day, sixth form kids at my school used to get their Gilera G50s and their Yamaha FS1E rebored, so the pistons were bigger, so there was much less metal in the actual head, but they would go really, really fast. And I think they brought law in to stop you doing that because it was.
This is quite. I'll just tell this really briefly. So Chris, my business partner, is a mad cyclist. He has about 10 bikes. They're all amazing, and he does an insane amount of miles a year and has got serious injuries. Anyway, when I told him about it, I was like, dude, I could get there like in about 10-15 minutes with this thing. And I was talking to him about it, and I wanted him to check it out, and he was just constantly going, no, it's against my principles, this whole electric bike thing is against my principles. Anyway, I persuaded him. I showed him a picture of it because it looks like a kind of big fat stealth bomber, and eventually he relented and agreed to try it, and he took it around the block for a spin, and he came back grinning from ear to ear, and he went, the first time you got on a de-restricted moped, it's that.
Excellent. Well, yes, I guess we should probably bring it back to topic with perhaps another one of our topics. Oh, this is cool. This is the new modular from Plankton Elektronik's Kickstarter campaign. There's quite a lot of Kickstarters happening at the moment. This is called ANTS, which doesn't reflect on the size of the GUI, by the way. It's a 4 oscillator, 2 LFOs, 2 ADSRs, a bunch of stuff, and it's like a little desktop. So it looks like a lot of. I mean, it's that format that is really going strong for people at the moment. And this is some sounds from it, and I'm liking the look of this. I guess with 4 oscillators, you can have separate signal paths and do all sorts of stuff in there. Let's have a look. I think it's on Kickstarter, isn't it? Anyway, we won't look at too much more of that, but it looks kind of fun. And Robbie, I'm going to come to you first because you said you weren't going to buy any more gear. I'm wondering whether or not you're starting to have second thoughts about that pre-New Year.
It looks a bit like the Make Noise one a bit for some reason.
Yes, I know what you mean.
I think it's the knobs, I think. But no, it looks nice. I mean, I've got the little my brain isn't in gear today. Someone help me out. The one from with the red on the sides of it.
Red on the sides.
Oh, phenol. Yes. Phenol. I've got that little semi-module, which I like because it's kind of real. That one is really like sort of like the sound laboratory because it's got the banana plugs and. If you touch them ever so slightly, something goes all wrong. I like that one. It's kind of really unpredictable. But yeah, I mean, this looks great. I mean, I don't want any more synths. I've rationalised down what I've got. I've got a very simple setup now over here. I've got my modular and the OB6 and the P6 modules and the OP1 and the DeepMind 12, and that's kind of I'm just trying to stick with a set amount of things really.
That's it. Interesting. Yeah. You're so because obviously you got one of the DeepMinds that which I think I saw there were announcements that went past somewhere that they're starting to show up in the stores in certain places. Have you been using that? Actually,
when I finally got around to opening it up and disconnecting the fan because mine was set to be on full blast and I didn't know there was a setting to turn it down. So it was like a wind tunnel for a while. So I couldn't use it on anything without driving myself insane. But I just disconnected the fan because it didn't need it. And I have started to use it and I'm really enjoying it. I've got a project starting in the new year, which I'm hoping to use it on quite a bit, a new film project that we're scoring. So, yeah.
And, of course, you got patch number 1, which you have to use on the film. Oh, Dave, do you think this could be a gateway synth for your introduction into Eurorack, or is it just too fiddly for you? You're muted, I believe.
Sorry,
that's all right.
I was trying to make a joke.
That's a drink for someone. A drink for someone out there.
Yeah, I'll have that one. I like the sound of this. I need to know more about it. I thought it was interesting. I mean, they're very close, aren't they, to funding, and they've still got 24 days to go.
Yeah,
but there was something else that you sent as an afterthought, and
€24,000. Yeah,
I want that. I want the thing that we. We'll
get on to the other Kickstarter. Yeah, there seems to be 3 Kickstarters on this one. So yeah, so so the other thing, right? Okay.
I like the sound of this. I like the cross mod. I was trying to work out this whole 4 oscillators thing, but that's obviously part of the whole cross mod stuff. But yeah, no, I kind of need to learn a little bit more about it. But it looks good. Looks good. Sounded good.
Yeah, it doesn't sound bad at all. Okay, Charles, how about yourself? It
looks really nice. It sounds. I love the sounds of it. I just bought a Mother 32 finally.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's. I just took it out of my suitcase because I took that and the organelle out of my suitcase, and but like Ravi, I've got so many synths, and I just cannot rationalize buying. I mean, hopefully my wife isn't watching this show because she doesn't know that I bought that and the organelle.
How much?
She also doesn't know I own the tape machine either. So, whoops. But yeah, I have to be. I cannot buy more synths right now. I've got too many. And what I need to do is I need to be making songs, not noises. And so I'm trying to keep down to just a few things that I have the OP1, which I use on everything, and I've got my mini Perut, which I use on everything, and all my Korg stuff, the mini log and all that stuff. I use that on everything. But aside from that, and these two new pieces, of course, I just really cannot rationalize buying something else. But then I watched that video today, and I thought, God, this does sound really nice, and it's 4 oscillators. So.
Yeah, that's pretty unusual. I mean, but it's got LFOs as well, because quite often in something that size, you'd expect the oscillators, one of them to be sacrificed, or 2 to be an LFO. But I'm guessing you could do that as well if you want. I haven't got a close up of the. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's the close up, but it's quite hard to see. Let's see.
That's what I've been scrutinising ever since this.
Can I make that any bigger? No, it's one of those. One of those that's really hard. Yeah, no, that looks like LFOs, doesn't it? Oh, it's hard to say, but yeah, look, I mean, good on them. I mean, and the desktop, I guess that's the other thing about these small synths for the touring musician, because I remember coming back from the States and bringing back the little Lexicon LXP1 and LXP5 because they were small enough you could get them in your suitcase and, bypass the import duty, perhaps, if they were. But whereas, these tiny little synths is very tempting to do.
It's hardly worth it, though. I mean, we were just Chicky and I and Howard and Johnny went to the Moog factory. Sorry if anyone's watching, he's going to slap my wrist.
Too, saying Moog.
Yeah, we went to the factory when we were there and got a guided tour and even got taken into the research and development department, which nobody ever gets to go into. Met all the people, etc., etc. But actually, even with a bit of discount, it was actually. The exchange rate is so shocking that it was virtually the same price by about £10 for the UK.
So, well. Literally.
In fact, some things in America ended up being more expensive, if you can imagine that.
Anyway, this one is, let's have a look. They're shipping, it looks like they're going to be shipping, where does it say? April 2017, which is promising. They've got 24,000 of 27 goal, and they've still got almost a month to go, which is really good. I mean, it's nice to see that, and that's something that seems to be, that we've got 3 Kickstarters on this, and that seems to be the way that it's working at the moment. So anyway, that's the. What's the name of it now? It's the Plankton Elektronik ANTS. So do check that out. I think that could be kind of fun. Right, I think it's time for perhaps a little word from our sponsors. This is Isotope Neutron. The mix analysis and processing tool enables you to kind of make sense of a mix with all sorts of... the mix assistant tells you kind of maybe where there's clashing frequencies, suggests processing by... figuring out that it's a bass track or it's a guitar track and saying try this, or a vocal track, helps you construct a mix in a much more kind of measured way rather than like the most of us perhaps who just push all the phase up and then suddenly go, oh, we're nearly ready to mix, and then you've got to think about it then, whereas this could help you all the way through. You can, I've visually identified frequency collisions, which is really handy for perhaps EQing certain tracks and cleaning up the mix. Of course, you can check this out, isotope.com/neutron. You get the usual 10-day demo, and you can really check it out properly. Lots of brand new fancy DSP program from the boffins at Isotope as well. So that's it, Isotope Neutron. Please do check it out. And of course, we have a competition, which is we asked you last week to tweet the hashtag, what was it, Mixmaster and Neutron, and we have a winner. The winner is someone called Cabled_Mess, which I thoroughly approve of, because that's kind of what my place is like a lot. So, Mr. I think it's Omnipulse, I think that's how you pronounce his handle. The Twitter handle is at cabled_mess. Please do make yourself known to us and we'll get the Mix Assistant off to you. We've also got a competition for this week. You can win, again, a copy of Isotope Neutron. We're looking for the hashtag Mix Assistant and the hashtag Neutron to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. That's via Twitter. So the hashtag Mix Assistant, that's all one word, and the hashtag Neutron, that's NEUTRON, to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. And once again, we thank the guys and gals at Isotope for sponsoring the show. Very much appreciated. So yeah, we had the best-selling synths for 2016 according to Reverb, which is an interesting list. Reverb, I think, as far as I can tell, I mean, they do that. It's more like a marketplace. It's kind of like almost like an eBay for music stuff, because you get to post your own things. Retailers can post there, so you get these sub-shots. So they've basically created this list, and there's, as you can imagine, a number of Korg budget items in there, but a number of other things in there as well, which I was a bit surprised at. Anybody see any surprises on this list? Dave, was there anything in there you thought, my goodness, I didn't think they sold a lot of those?
I was very surprised that it was the thing that Chicky just mentioned, that organelle.
Oh yes, the Criticatari, the organelle, yeah.
It's like, wow, one of that's the third best-selling item released in 2016. So yeah,
it surprised me too.
Yeah. Much a surprise them, I'd imagine, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, it's a bit difficult to figure out how that could possibly work, because you've got kind of, I think the Dave Smith's Instruments OB6 is the 4th best-selling, and then, but the highest grossing, it doesn't actually appear. Oh yes, it does. It appears at number 8. So I couldn't quite figure out all of the kind of dynamics of this, but it's an interesting thing. What about you? Well, Charles, you obviously used it to influence your buying decisions because you bought an organelle.
I bought an organelle.
How many of the things on there do you own? Organelle.
Yeah, let's see. On the best-selling items, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 items, I own 10 of them.
Wow. So you I mean, depending on the sample size, that you could have actually been one of the major influencers in that list.
I could be. Oh,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I need to not be buying anything else. I just see something that makes a cool noise, and I just think, I gotta own that. Yeah.
Wow.
It's like a joke, isn't it? Your biggest fear is that when you die, your wife will sell your synths for the price that you told her you paid for them.
Yeah.
I was
Robbie,
by the highest grossing by the Teenage Engineering OP1, because
number 2, the highest grossing dollar amount.
I absolutely love mine. I know Chicky loves his, and I know Gaz loves his. Everybody I know, and Johnny, who's on drumming with Howard, he bought one a few months ago, and he's absolutely in love with his. For an instrument that's been out for so long, and obviously they've just updated it again. It's just enduring, just how many people seem to be discovering it, and obviously, it's paid dividends for them as a company.
It's interesting. I mean, I was surprised not to see one of these on that, the circuit, because that for me is one of the most exciting things I've bought for a while. And, I know it's starting to sound like I'm endorsing it, but I'm starting to use it a lot more. And I'm thinking, well, actually, I could replace a couple of the synths in my setup with that, because it would make the whole thing simpler. This is for live, obviously. It would make things so much simpler, because I played this gig in Winchester a couple of weeks ago, and the one thing that was real problematic was the repatching of the Dreadbox Erebus, which sounds fantastic, but it's so easy in the panic of, oh my God, it's taken me more than 20 seconds to switch songs. I might have knocked the tuning, and I don't really realise it until I listen back to the recording of the gig, and it's sort of all a bit spoiled. So I'm thinking, yes, but I'm surprised not to see that there, because I think that's probably selling pretty well as well, but maybe not via Reverb. Don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I got to get one of those.
Well, yeah. Yes, Robbie.
Sorry, I've got a terrible delay. It's just shocking internet, I think, today. That unit you're talking about, the Novation.
Yeah.
Is there like a custom controller mode where you can kind of map it to however you want and just use it as a MIDI controller?
Sadly not, but I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't come along. I mean, the thing is you could easily use, like, you know, or as you Launchpad Pro or something with it, because that's got but yeah, no, not at the moment as far as I can tell.
I'm using Machine Mark II Live because it's got all the features I need for launching samples and stuff, which I want a custom interface where I can change the color of the pads, so I know for each song what pads I've got to press. And I need like 8 knobs for additional control of Ableton and stuff. But it's just so big, the machine, and I was looking at that thinking that would be the perfect, and they need to be touch sensitive. And I was looking at that thinking that would make a perfect replacement.
I mean, it would work, but it would be fixed. So you'd have to just learn the assignments out of it and just, you know, use it mute. But you've got essentially 9 knobs and all of those buttons. Which
you can't change the color of the pads, you know, for different like pages.
I don't know, but I think I have heard. I remember when we did the launch event, and the guy Ollie who was showing it, he was saying at some point they were talking about releasing maybe a custom, you know, the API, so that or you know, something that would allow you to get in there and start reconfiguring it. But I may be wrong about that. And it wouldn't surprise me because they're releasing stuff at a pace. But yeah, Dave, how many of those have you got then?
I don't know. I didn't look. It'd be a laugh if I haven't got any.
I think maybe you haven't got any of them, looking at this.
Yeah. See, I think the problem is that this is very mainstream, and being a hipster.
Yeah, what you need is the one from 1983.
Yes, exactly. Actually, funny enough, I had I can't really still talk. I had a meeting with a film director last week, and we were talking about synths of a certain era. And it was just on the cusp of the early 80s, and it was just like, wow. You know, trying to sort of work out exactly what was around at that point and what wasn't after. Anyway, yeah, I digress. No, I haven't got anything.
Well, it's good. It's good to see. There's the in the highest grossing, the Sub 37 is there. That's the only Moog I can see in there. I think in the top 10, but it's.
I've got a Sub 37.
You got a Sub 37. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
There. Okay.
Mainstream.
Way. Well, it's excellent. Anyway, I thought that was a bit of fun. We should probably crack on because we've got a few others to get through. What's this one? I don't know whether to do this or to do the. Well, let's do the Koma first, and then we'll come back to the other one if we get the time, because I think this is something that a lot of people are excited about.
I'm Wouter from Koma Elektronik, and this is our latest product, the Koma Elektronik Field Kit. A little box made for experimentation with electroacoustic elements. The Field Kit is inspired by experimental electroacoustic performance techniques, as discovered by our heroes, like John Cage, Steve Reich and David Tudor. By using contact microphones and electromagnetic pickups, sensors and switches, you can generate sounds from ordinary objects and process it inside the Field Kit.
Right, I won't go through the entire skit, but it's got some really cool features. It's got an AM/FM radio, CV tunable, controllable. It's got piezoelectric pickups, so you can run like motors and contact mics into it. And it's another Kickstarter. But what's surprising, you know, you think this is kind of pretty niche, but you look at the Kickstarter page. They're looking for €20,000. They're now, I mean, this has gone up by €13,000 since the beginning of the program. It's now over 100K. They've got, and that's just, I mean, for the size of a company like that, that is mental. And I know Ty was really interested in this, but it just seems like it seems to have caught somebody's imagination. This looks really fun, and I know both of you guys are saying I'm not buying any more synths, but I'm looking at your eyes.
More synths.
Yeah, but Chicky, it's not really a synth, is it?
No.
It isn't. But I cannot imagine why I would buy that. I mean,
okay.
It's cool, but I like making music. I'm not really. That just sounds like I'd make lots of strange noises I could never use in any way. But it's cool. I can see that in an alternate universe,
a way you didn't have to work for a living. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd be really into. Exactly.
You get this little
wealthy and everything. Yeah, that'd be great.
It comes that you can get this little extra kit which has got solenoid DC motor, patch cables, contact mics, that sort of thing. I know it seems to. I mean, people seem to want it, and it really is going. And I'm really happy for them because, these guys are kind of quite boutique, and 100k pledge has got to make a pretty big difference to a company like that, I'd imagine. Hey, tempted, Robbie? I'm guessing you probably feel much the same way, right?
I do like things that I am seduced by things that are a little bit weird and crazy, but having bought quite a few in the past. I'm a little bit dubious, like Chicky, that I might spend a load of time making loads of noises that never actually end up in any of the projects I'm working on. But it does look like a lot of fun, and I can see people who are really experimental would jump on this, straight away. So I mean, perhaps when I've got a bit more time, I might be interested in looking at some of this. But my schedule's so busy at the moment, I've just got to get work done.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. By the time you're not busy, the knobs and buttons are going to be too small for you to actually see. So, that's the other thing I think about. Yep. Dave, I'm not sure this is for you, but it's like that. It reminds me of those old electronic kits that you used to get as a kid, a Make a Radio or a blinky light or something. It's got that same appeal, hasn't it? It's like kind of electronics kits for grown-ups.
Yeah, I want this. I really want this. I want everything that this company makes. It's that mega sequence mad CV thing. Chris holds the purse strings, and I've been going up for a while. Is there any chance can we get that big? And then the clock machine they make, I think, is brilliant. And yes, I want this. I think it's really well priced. It's a bit like the bike thing. I have this sort of thing about, I'm going to buy this because it'll get me out of my chair and it'll get me out of the house and it'll
this will
force
do the
me
opposite,
to do
I'd
things.
imagine.
It's a bit like cameras. Well, no, I love the idea of taking this round to somebody's house and annoying the crap out of them. No, for me, I want it. I'm literally hovering over the button, and I have been.
It's not bad. What is it? It's 159 bucks for euros for the DIY version, $200 for the that with the field kit. 200 euros. 200. I mean, it's not an excessive amount of money, and it's even the box looks fun.
Is that about £400 now?
I think it's about £600.
Okay.
But it is, yeah. But it's great to see that something like this has captured the imagination of these people. And again, this is going to be delivered. Where is it? March 2017. So it's not like next year, the middle. You might get it. You might get it while the winter's still on, and you actually do want to stay in and do this rather than be outside. Assuming they only
but it's just that kind of moving around thing. It's like, I could go over here and do that, go over here. Whereas normally I'm kind of sat here going, I'll do that just after I finish this thing here that I'm working on, and then you get to that, and actually I better finish this whole section that I'm working on. So but I think it's a really inspired idea, and I like them as a company. So
yeah,
I'm poised.
I remember the acoustics of that room because Ed went to visit them in Berlin, and I used Isotopes RX on it to cut some of that bloody reverb off it because it was really, really difficult to hear what they were saying. They were very far away. Yeah. Anyway,
I posted something on Facebook just saying I've used RX since since the very first iteration, and I'm deeply immersed in it at the moment on the project, and there is not a time I've gone to use it where it doesn't make me at some point go, wow. I've taken these tapes that were just absolutely mashed, and they sound amazing. You need to know what you're doing, but yes, anyway, enough publicity for RX, but it is blooming brilliant.
Oh, we'll move back in that case. That was this one. This is fun. Look at this. This
is a milestone. We are proud to present the Yamaha DX7 and DX9.
This is the original demonstration tape cassette from 1983, which was is full of just an enormous amount of musical styles. This is reminding me of I can't remember what the word is. That the Steve Austin space thing where the band play, and it's an electronic band in space. There we go. So there's one bit of music. Let's see. Let's try some other styles. Oh. That's kind of much the same. I think it gets kind of very 80s in it. Yeah! That's more like it. That's really funny, this, because it seems like a really effective way to market something. Just there's the sound, that's what it sounds like. And I was looking back, I was thinking, you know, DX7, I'll just revisit some of the facts and figures about this. DX7 in 1983, $1,900, right? Which is about $5,000 in today's money. I mean, think about that, folks.
Flipping hell.
That is, I know, it really shocked me. And they reckon there were 200,000 made. I'm guessing this is across all iterations. So just think about that for a minute. That's no wonder Yamaha are so big. I mean, 200,000 units at the equivalent of $5,000 today. What's that? 50 million? I mean, that's an enormous amount of money. More, I don't know. I haven't done the maths. Dave, do you remember these kind of things fondly? I mean, I'm guessing you might have actually listened to that cassette at some point nearer to its time of origin.
Yeah, I knew Dave Bristow years ago, who was one of the people who voiced it alongside this guy, Gary Lowenberger. And they voiced it quite quickly. To me, that was a whole trippy thing, to voice a synth within a very short time frame before release, and then just to hear it on like every single hit record for years and years and years. So we all know the famous DX7 joke, which I won't repeat on air because it'll get you banned from you banned from the internet. I did manage to slip this in at Synthfest about Eurorack, which was quite entertaining, although I think I stumbled. I think the timing was a bit off. But it really was the ubiquitous synth, wasn't it, for so long? I remember I used to watch, go to these kind of, not trade shows, but, music fairs. I remember going to the one CS80, Dave Bristow's CS80, and he's a phenomenal musician as well as a patch guy. And then he did the GS1 and the GS2, which was the kind of very early FM super hi-fi. That's the Toto, Rosanna and Africa and stuff like that. And then the DX7. But you see, by the time the DX7 had come along, you had that whole... You'd walk into a store and you go, I'm kind of interested in this. Can you tell me about it? And the guy would hit... It wasn't on the DX7, but all the Roland stuff had ROM play demos, didn't they? And they just kind of press the button and walk away. And within about 2 minutes, you'd be going... I hate that synthesizer, or I want to buy it. The DX7 was, it's just
didn't have any demos, did it? But I'm sure I remember a flexi disc or something on the front of a magazine.
Yeah. I mean, it was just... I remember going in and the band I was in at the time, the keyboard player was having to make a decision between the DX7 and the DX9, and the 9 was, the one that he had the money for, and actually probably, and that's what he bought, but I know that he regretted not walking out with the 7 for so long. In fact, weirdly enough, Chris and myself have just been given a DX7 Mark 1. And it all works. Dude, FM, well, you saw it on that list, didn't you? The sales list called Volker FM. FM is the new analog.
Doesn't do pulse width modulation though, does it?
Yeah, but that's your fetish.
That's one for the synth meme group. No, it's not my fetish. It's not, honestly. I mean, I really love
that meme. That meme is superb.
There's so many of them.
PWM, bro.
Yeah. I don't know, Charles. I don't think I don't. It's a funny thing, isn't it, to think that many of those synthesizers were made. I mean, that's a kind of golden era, isn't it? And at that price, I mean, how the hell did they sell them all? Who did they sell them to?
Yeah, I remember I was debating about getting one when they first came out, and it was the price that. I mean, I was just a young. I was an infant back then, but I was a young, struggling musician, and I just didn't have that kind of money. And where I was living in Dallas, Texas, at the time that came out, and it had one dealership per city. I don't know if they did this in the UK, but they had one dealership per city. And if you wanted to buy it, you had to go to that particular dealership, and there was no negotiating on the price. So they got full price for it every single time. And so they sort of squeezed the market that way. But it was like this. It was the sound of the future. And when I listened to this demo of it, I just think, to me, it's a vaporwave dream come true. I love all the stuff in there. Think, well, I've got to get an original copy of that and sample that and make something new out of it. But yeah, it was exactly what the future was meant to be in 1983. So.
Yeah, I mean, but what they did really well was kind of divide it down. I think I bought a DX21 That was the first thing I could afford. And I know, Robbie, you had similar experience, didn't you?
I had a friend who had a DX7 who I could borrow from, and I borrowed it, and then eventually I got a DX9 from ABC Music in Slough, and I just hated it with a passion. Because it was like, I could never get the sounds to load in with the old all that shit with the tape machine and all that business. I then quickly got into the Casio ones after that. I got a CZ1000 and a CZ1, and I got on much better with those. Got much more meaningful things out of it, and I actually programmed them myself. Whereas the DX7 I just couldn't fathom them really. But I've rediscovered a love of FM in recent years. With things that are a bit more accessible. Certainly, I love the little FM thing on the OP1. I use that loads. So yeah, I do have fond memories of it because of so much of the music of the day that I was kind of inspired by to want to get into electronic music was kind of using the DX7. I hasten to add not all the R&B stuff, just use the electric piano, but the other kind of stuff. Yeah, so tracks use that classic FM bass. The spiky bass was on pretty much every single track. So I've got fond memories of it. But I mean, I remember the ROM play thing. The first thing that got me for that was when this guy came to our school in Maidenhead and had a little rig with an MT32, and he played Jan Hammer's Crockett's Theme just using an MT32. I was just like rabbit in the headlight. I was just like, this is it for me. And I went and got a D10, because it was kind of like the next best thing, the keyboard version. But yeah, so I remember those demos fondly. Did whether they were Nutcracker or whatever, or Sugar Plum Fairy.
Yeah. Flight of the Bumblebee. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, all those things. Yes. Yeah, I could never get out of it what those demos did, though. That was always a slightly weird thing. With the polyphony and everything, they were very cleverly programmed, those demos. I mean, it was like a little bit of smoke and mirrors because it made you think you could get a whole lot more out of them than you actually really could.
Well, if you were into programming system exclusive and sending those parameter changes super fast, you probably could have just about done it. But I mean, because I remember on the I saw the M32 and I was like, yeah, this is it. All those voices, all that multi-temporality, but I couldn't handle the lack of output, so I waited and I waited for the D110, which was the thing that I wanted, which I've still got it actually somewhere. I should probably pull the battery out of it before it leaks and blows everything. But but bizarrely, the reason I like that is because of all the outputs, because you could process all the drums separately, whereas now it's kind of like, well, I just want it stereo pair, please. It's easy life, it's funny, isn't it?
My favourite trick with that was I used to pitch bend the drums up by about six semitones and get this really cool kind of drum sound.
You could do that. You could bung them through pitch bend, couldn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I used to write that in. I had a D20. That was my first thing with a sequencer, and I used to perform solo gigs, and it would take about nearly 45 seconds to load each song from a floppy disk. And I had to sort of say, talk amongst yourselves kind of thing, because I was absolutely hopeless at talking to audiences. So, I sort of remember that excruciating time. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it was the same for me. The MT32 going into a store, and they would like, hold off, because the D110's coming. And I went for the D10 in the end because I wanted the keyboard. Brilliant gizmo. But that ROM play was like genius, really, for stores, because the store guy didn't have to have any chops at all. He didn't really have to know anything about the machine. He just kind of put it on,
to press,
walk away, have a fag, and come back, and you were either there with your money or out the door.
Yeah. Hold on. You like this one? Oh, no, not that one. Hold on. Yeah. All of that stuff. Anyway, a nice bit of nostalgia there, but that's from who are they from? Encyclotronic.com. That's where that showed up, which is I think the only thing that beat the DX7 in sales was the M1. Right.
Yeah.
It was quarter of a million.
Blimey, that's just astonishing.
I had one of those.
Yeah, I think I've still got. No, I haven't. I lent the 01FD, the 01W. That's what was the next one. I did have an M1, then I got an 01 because the piano sound was more now. And it's coming back. Yeah, the M1 piano. Anyway, let's. What about this then? This is another Kickstarter, but you can't buy it because it's gone. We'll finish with this one just because it's a bit of fun.
Do you remember the first time you streamed a video on your smartphone? At that moment, you were no longer tied to your living room for your entertainment or to your office for work. You could access your content anywhere. But there's one small problem.
Yeah, no, I don't want to listen to that. Let's have a look at this. Let's cut to the chase. This is the...
Introducing SPUD, the Spontaneous Pop-Up Display. SPUD is a high-resolution, 24-inch display that collapses down to the size of a book and weighs less than 2 pounds. This revolutionary product is the first truly collapsible display and the only device that gives you both portability and a large screen for entertainment and productivity.
Throughout the SPUD design process, we focus on...
Let's not show the whole thing, but I know, because Robbie, you've got the little projector thing, haven't you? And I just thought that would be right up your street.
Well, I've got the little projector and I've got those tiny little G-Sheet screens, which are great, but they're only 13-inch. That's cool. How much was that?
That was about $350, but I'm afraid it's sold out. They raised $657,000.
You'll be able to get it afterwards.
Sorry?
You'll be able to get it afterwards, won't you? I mean, once Kickstarters are done, usually they can.
Yeah, one would hope so.
Yeah.
I was really excited about this. Then I read the resolution's only 1280 by 720, so it's not massively massive. It's not even HD. It's sort of HD ready, isn't it, that one? But kind of looks fun. I like the idea of it maybe for some things. I don't know. Is that something you kind of get into, Charles?
Well, I have a huge screen on the wall here and plenty of other stuff. It reminds me a little bit of that movie Brazil, where they made the computer screen small they had to put a giant magnifying glass in front of it to see. Oh, well, we've now made these phones so small. Let's carry around this umbrella
magnifying glass. Yeah,
it's hilarious. I wouldn't be into it, but I'm sure other people would. It is portable, which is great, but I just haven't found myself in enough situations where I need to, entertain 3 or 4 other people to show them something. I mean, I always have my iPad Pro with me anyway, so.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing in high res. I mean, it's the sort of thing that if you need to do an impromptu demo and you showed up with a sort of wobbly bit of cloth, it might not show the product in the best light anyway. So, but yeah, I don't know. It looked like a bit of fun. Dave, one for the garden, one for the back seat of the car, the caravan.
Trade shows probably. Save you lugging around or hiring a bloody great screen. You could lob a couple of these in your suitcase and take them over and make this booth look lo-fi. But I was gobsmacked, really. That's $657,000 of an original $33,000 goal.
Yeah.
That's
Well, it's going to go one of two ways, isn't it? Either you'll never hear from them again, and the whole thing was a scam, or it's going to be a great product and it'll turn up.
You've got to bear that. You've got to temper that by the fact I've got that little Sony micro laser projector, which is pretty much the size of an iPhone. It's pretty much that, just slightly thicker, and it's full HD and it auto focuses, and you can have an image of up to 60 inches on the wall. And I plug that up to my MacBook Pro, and I can have Logic on the wall in a hotel room at 60 inches, and it costs $300.
Wow!
So that's pretty, yeah.
I know that's a fair point.
Yeah, but I mean, anyway, it's you got to have it in quite a bit of dark for it to be, good. You can literally work very nicely with a massive image on the wall, provided you haven't got some floral wallpaper or something.
Yeah, that would be a problem. So then you have to take the screen with you as well, some kind of bit of silk. I think part of the thing...
You're right up to Chickie's original thing.
Yeah, I think part of the thing about this is it's something to do with the cloth that they use as the screen. It doesn't scrunch. So you get a much smoother image. It's something along those lines. And it does look like on the pictures. There's quite a lot of pictures of it. It's got an HDMI input. It's got a wireless input, so you can use it with Wi-Fi. And that's it in use in what looks like a quite bright background. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a bit of fun. Christmas is coming, although you won't get it till next year anyway. I think that's us done. I think I managed to make it through pretty much all of the topics. Has anyone got any other business? I did challenge you for a a tale of hilarity from your tour, guys, and none has been forthcoming just yet. Do you think there's anything that you could talk about that wouldn't incriminate anybody or affect the statute of limitations for next time you go back to the States? What was okay? No. I'll start with it. What was the best and worst gig in terms of just technical nightmare stuff rather than names protected?
Nightmares. We had so few technical nightmares. We did a really great gig at this place called Gas Monkey, which is it's based on the TV show Gas Monkey. It's like a restaurant that's it's like a sort of a venue that's got is linked to that. And it was freezing cold. It was like in Texas, but it was freezing cold. Almost needed to wear gloves. We had these big fire pits on stage. It was like some sort of Vegas show of Siegfried and Roy or something, because it's so cold we had to have these things on. My launch pad stuff all just didn't work. It just freaked out. I think the USB hub didn't like the cold. That was the only disaster, I think. I don't think.
So what happens when that happens then? Does it just
suddenly all the launch pads, it just all went yellow, all yellow LEDs straight across the board. Couldn't unplugged it, plugged it, yellow, didn't work. So I just had to just abort and kind of think of ways around doing it. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like not a great deal of fun in terms of live performance. But
I think the weirdest gig that we did was that I would say the Houston gig that we did. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Which was this barn. It was in a barn that had been brought in from Kentucky, and it was a supper club sort of place. And everyone was sort of sitting at a table looking up at the stage, turned sideways looking up at the stage. This is the weirdest gig. And I had to mix from side of stage, which didn't really matter because they had a mono PA that I wouldn't have been able to see at any mixed position anyway. So I just sat over by the side of the stage and mainly mixed on my my Shure in-ears. That was a very strange gig.
Yeah. Howard has done that gig on acoustic. He'd done it as an acoustic gig on the last tour. And I think because we were in Houston, it was come back and do another gig. And we thought we'll do it. And when we got there, we just realised it was the most inappropriate gig for us to ever do. People sat, like Chicky said, it was like long tables sideways. So it reminded me of being in Hogwarts banqueting hall. So people were sitting there dinner sideways going like this.
So everybody actually had to make an effort to watch you. And it
was like, it's just like an onslaught of electronic music. And they were like, this isn't the Howard Jones we knew from last time when he came with his piano.
He doesn't play either of the kinds of music we like, country or Western.
Yeah, so that was the only bizarre gig, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that was a weird gig.
Well, that sounds like fun anyway. I mean, that's sort of, on the road. I'm determined to try and string together it before I can't gig anymore in my life, to do more than one gig in a row with my current setup. But I've still got to. I did actually I got a Facebook by somebody last week, and they said, I'm putting on a festival in Puerto Rico. Would you like to play? And I was what? I mean, yes, but I can't really see me getting a Dominion 1, a Moog Sub 37 and all the other stuff on a plane to Puerto Rico. So I'm going to really have to rethink my life setup quite considerably before that's ever going to happen. But yes, in principle, assuming I could do that, which is why I'm desperately trying to get my circuit to do as much as possible. But yeah. Well, I think that's probably us for this week. Is there anything, Dave, you usually have is there anything you want to add to the thing? Don't forget, you could plug your top trumps.
Top trumps?
Yeah, top trumps vintage synth.
If it's good enough for Matt Berry to do a voiceover, then it's good enough for
that's amazing. I
should have had the video up. I could have played it again. I'm sorry about that. I didn't think ahead. Great for Christmas. You probably just about get it, if you're in the UK anyway, you get it just in time for Christmas, wouldn't you?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, on that mind-blowing high-energy sales pitch from Dave, we'll we'll finish up. I think we're going to have one more show before we go, and I've got to go and find my Christmas hat. It's traditional, and find a little glass of something to drink while we do it. So next Wednesday will be the last show before the break, and then I don't think there's going to be one until January, I'd imagine, which will be, I'm not sure when that's going to be. I guess it's going to be January the 3rd or 4th. We probably have one. But anyway, I want to say thank you very much to our show sponsors. Don't forget, if you want to check out the isotope competition, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag MixAssistant and the hashtag Neutron, Neutron, to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. And you'll be entered to win the last isotope prize of the year. So thank you very much, everybody. That's it for this week. Chicky, thank you for joining us. I hope you get some more time to reacclimatise yourself to civilian life and have a lovely weekend and week and Christmas. If I don't see you. Oh, you said you'll be around next week. Hopefully next week. So I want to see a hat, though. You have to wear something Christmassy.
I have a hat.
A Christmas jumper with lights on is acceptable as well. Just saying.
Well, I might have something like that too. Or I can make something. Controlled by one of those little workstation things. Excellent.
That sounds awesome. Well, Charles, thank you very much for joining us. And also, Mr. Robbie Bronneman, thank you too. I hope you get a little bit of time out before you have to get back on the treadmill of work. And thank you for joining us.
Pleasure being part of it after being away for so long.
Yes, always good to have you. And, of course, Mr. Dave Spears, too. I hope you have a great Christmas if I don't see you before, but you're always welcome for next week's show, the party show. Thank you very much for joining us. GeForceSoftware.com for Dave's stuff and Top Trumps, Vintage Synth Top Trumps 2. Yes.
Thank you.
Right, that's it for this week. We'll see you next time.